this is part 2. And now we're going to get into what you just talked about, Doc, is the people filling out this information. What she is needing, and I'm going to tell each and every one of y'all out there, when you go to these doctors, you go to these hospitals, and they say, so what's going on with you? And you say, go for illness. And them doctors sit there and say, I don't believe in go for illness. This is who y'all need to send the information to, guys, right here.
Yeah, and earlier you're talking about them saying it's all in your head. This is also the place to express your opinion about that. Now, we're also happy to hear wonderful experiences, but you probably have a good guess of which ones people are more interested in talking about. And we really want to hear, if we don't hear those experiences, we can't convey what the problem is.
So what is this study called again, Doc?
Well, provider attitude, because technically not everybody gets to see a physician. Sometimes they see a nurse practitioner or something like that, but it's the provider attitude or physician attitude survey study, and you can be anywhere in the country. If you're a Gulf War veteran, we want to hear what your experience has been.
I can hear our audience laughing.
Right now, our audience, and Jason, I know you're listening. I hope you have filled this out, and you need to put in, because
have a lot to say on
everybody who lives in Washington State, Oregon, Abilene, all the way to Shreveport, all the way to the East Coast, west to East Coast. I can tell you, I'm talking to Vietnam vets that get zero service when they go up to the VA just in Abilene. And I wish we could get, I know you, is this just for Gulf War veterans or every veteran?
That one, the only people that we can, defray their cost of participation for are Gulf War veterans.
Okay.
But if other people want to share their experiences that were in other conflicts, we would be delighted to hear from them.
Okay, so everybody who is listening out there, y'all need to spread the word. I want this on every single page out there. Kristi, you should be on this. I'm going to be on this. I'm going to spin the heck out of this one and put it out there and tell each and every person, y'all need to do this survey. I mean, when do you want me to call you tomorrow? I'll be one.
Me?
Of your, yes.
Anytime you like.
Because I am serious. Is there like a 1-800 number they can call?
That's a super good question. Pre-COVID, we had a number that people could easily call. Can I get back to you with a phone number to call?
Yes. Get back to me on the phone number to call with that.
Okay.
So again, this is a survey for Gulf War veterans that are dissatisfied with their providers. That is correct.
Or
yes?
Can be satisfied. They can have had a good experience. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that's going to be
good or bad.
That's going to be.
But we're going to ask people about their worst experience and their best experience.
Oh, that's good, because like I have really good experiences and I do have bad experiences. So this would be good for each and every one of y'all to spread the word, to say, hey, look, the more of us that get out there and do this, maybe our freaking congressmen, I really had to keep it back on that one, guys. I just want y'all to know. And our senators and our presidents and whoever's in the offices, even statewide, will have to start listening to us. The more we band together, the better off we're going to end up being.
So on this, and yes, absolutely. In this particular survey, you will have a link in the on our page. Yes. And Chris, and so that link will be on our webpage, folks. You can check it out and you can participate in this survey. Again, like Doc said, both good and bad. And I got a feeling, I mean, I live in Iowa. I've had good and bad. I've recently had bad experience, and I shared that had to do with medicine. But that being said, it's good and bad. And she wants a survey. And what's the survey? What's the net result on this survey? It's just informational, or where are we going with this?
Well, we're going a few different places. We want to give feedback to say this is what is not going well. These are the things that made people happy. Maybe this is a good time to stop doing the things that are very upsetting to veterans and start doing the things that created a good experience. We also do provide people with both an information sheet that they can bring to their doctor to tell them about Gulf War illness, and also a Gulf War illness specific, like provider kind of rating survey that, depending on how bold you are, you can either give to your doctor or to their hospital, or share with us, so that we or share with other veterans, so that the information about, what places are good or better, and which doctors are better, et cetera, can sort of circulate. And then we are planning on sharing that information with the heads of the VAs around the country.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Good.
There we go.
This is so important, everybody. And
I want to say something there.
Okay. I want you to.
Untrained providers, when they don't have training on Gulf War illness, it doesn't just upset us. It's harmful. It is hurting. I watch my husband get hurt. I mean, we have one really great provider. He didn't know about Gulf War illness. We gave him the information. He said, I'm learning. And he just went with it. And so we give him glowing reviews. I mean, he got trained and he worked with us. But there are so many that are not trained, and it just causes harm. It's harmful. It's what I see happening.
Absolutely, one of the things that we're trying to learn from this is what have been the consequences of that. We've heard from some veterans that they were, that they lost trust in their medical care, and then they didn't even go back for their care for their other problems. As you say, there are bad things that can happen to people's health, their Gulf War illness, and otherwise, from bad healthcare experiences.
And we have a lot of people listening right now, Doug. We haven't lost listeners right now that I'm watching, and which is fantastic, because this is an important message. Doc, you've given me so far so much information. I know we still have a lot more to go with, but have you ever used oxygen therapies?
We actually did a pilot study with some Gulf War veterans with nighttime oxygen. And multiple times we tried to apply to the DoD to get funding to look at that, because the veterans that we tested with that did report significant improvement and got improvement in function. And one of the reasons why I think testing and treatment for sleep apnea is so important, again, I mentioned that oxygen multiplies by 13 times how much energy the body makes from every sugar molecule. So it's a huge multiplier, and your body needs that extra energy, which is why you got to breathe, and you can't go without breathing for more than a few minutes. It's not a good thing to do, obviously. So let me say, so one of the things that happens when you've got bad cell energy, like the mitochondrial problems that we've shown, the problems with these energy parasitic cells, is that the muscles get weaker. And guess what needs good quality muscles? The upper airway is held open by what are called airway dilator muscles. And people are already prone to those muscles relatively shutting down especially if they lie on their back. But when they lie down at all, but especially on their back, those muscles can close up. And when they're weaker, because you've got bad cell energy, they close up more. And then you're not getting oxygen in, and then they're having much less energy, and then they close up even more. And there's data showing that when people have untreated episodes of the oxygen dropping at night, that narrows the airway, not just at the nighttime, but in the daytime, because now those cells haven't had enough energy, and they're like wimpy, and they're kind of, some of them are turned off. So what are the things that happened in the study that I think you guys will find interesting is that the wife of one of these veterans said, isn't it interesting, at about 3 weeks on the nocturnal oxygen, his snoring went away, and then he was on for, I can't remember if it was 2 or 3 months, and then about 3 weeks off it, the snoring came back, because those muscles in the upper airway are getting stronger because of the treatment, and then they're better able to hold open the airway. And so I will say a lot of veterans have sleep apnea. You can treat that with CPAP, continuous positive airway pressure, but that is so widely not tolerated that I think the non-compliance rate in some studies is over 60%. Low dose oxygen, it's really important that it's low dose, like 2.5 liters a minute at night, is for many, many, many people that don't tolerate CPAP is very well tolerated. And it, even though it's oxygen, it actually can, treating episodes of low oxygen at night, ironically, actually reduces what's called oxidative stress, which is, people think of as from, oxygen binding to things and damaging things, but that problem, that free radical injury that antioxidants help to protect against, is much worse when people have episodes of low oxygen at night.
So this is a study to understand what's causing, or this is a study. I'm sorry. So this is a study to understand.
That study was trying to see, can we reduce people's symptoms and improve their function with nighttime low dose oxygen? And it looked like the answer was yes from our pilot study, but we never got a full, bigger study funded. So I can only say that
sorry to interrupt, but there's a lot of us that have sleep apnea, clearly.
Yep.
But the VA won't acknowledge it. They always toss it off as something else, especially if you're trying to get rated for sleep apnea. Now, and that's, there's a lot of our listeners, this is a study to understand how to help with sleep apnea, but to diagnose it as sleep apnea, you would have to say that, yes, this individual has sleep apnea in order to move forward, right?
Yeah.
And by the way, I should clarify that we did not test anybody for sleep apnea for that study, because one thing is that, how people define sleep apnea can depend on how low the oxygen goes at night. And a person that has normal mitochondrial function might tolerate the oxygen going down below 90% and be okay. But a person whose mitochondria are already struggling to make enough energy in them, when you drop that 13-fold multiplier in how much energy is produced the oxygen, they may have trouble at levels of oxygen drop that are not necessarily a problem for other people. So we didn't even test to see if they met criteria for sleep apnea. We just went ahead and treated them.
And there really needs to be more of a study of that. But I do know that we got still a lot more information, and everybody is really, really giving you so many compliments, Doc, that this is explaining so much. And I mean, to me, I'm actually I'm more entertained listening to her than listening to myself. I'm usually entertained listening to my damn self. But
let me just say, everybody who can should get tested, and if you can tolerate the treatment, treat it for sleep apnea, because the underlying mitochondrial problems lead to the sleep apnea, but the sleep apnea makes them much worse. So for a lot of people, correcting that low oxygen at night can make a really big difference.
And I would say 90% of Gulf War veterans with Gulf War illness have sleep apnea.
Mm-hmm.
I really do.
Yep.
It's a big group that are having oxygen problems.
Yep.
Now, I know you got some more that you want to get into them studies, so let's hit it.
Okay. Well, we have our genetic study that is up and running full steam ahead. Anna Prager is the person in our group that's managing that study. And we're looking at the whole genome, both the nuclear DNA, which are the Watson-Crick double-strand, double-helix DNA that you inherit from both your parents, and also the mitochondria's DNA, which are inherited only from your mother. They're more like bacterial-style circular DNA. And they don't code a lot of different genes, but they're really important for cell energy production. And so we've already seen in a study that didn't look at the whole genome, but just looked at parts of it, that what your mitochondrial inheritance pattern is affects how severe your Gulf War illness is. So within people that were deployed to the Gulf, people that have a particular inherited pattern of mitochondrial DNA, that has already been tied to certain aging-related problems that are tied to, mitochondrial problems and oxidative stress, which we think are core mechanisms in Gulf War illness. People who had that ancestral DNA pattern also had significantly more severe Gulf War illness. Like, we use a rating scale that scores the top 20 symptoms, each of which were present in at least 50% of veterans with Gulf War illness on a scale of 0 to 10. So up to 200 points people can get for Gulf War illness severity. And the average person with Gulf War illness in our studies has a score of about 100, a little over 100. Well, having that one mitochondrial profile adds more than 30 points to your severity score. So that's a huge, like a third, difference. And then also the nuclear genes, like I mentioned, the butyrylcholinesterase, the enzyme that clears PB, is linked to illness, including in our earlier data. But for that study, we used 23andMe, and 23andMe had gotten, by the time we did the study, they were on version 5, which had gotten rid of a lot of the genes that we were really interested in looking at. So this time we're doing the whole genome. And if you were deployed to the Gulf, whether you're ill or not, you are eligible to participate, because we need to find out what genes are tied to illness, what genes are tied to protection. And you will have access, if you want, to your whole genome data that you can. We're using a company called Nebula, and you can, if you want to, put your data through the Nebula platform using your unique study identifier. So in principle, they don't know who you are, but
I'll do it.
Great. Yeah. So we're super excited to do that study, and that one is up and running full throttle right now. So, and then the one that is going to be up any moment now, we're just trying to iron out the kinks for importing this really good quality coenzyme Q10 from Denmark. And we run into some unexpected hurdles figuring out the importing process, which you would not believe the hurdles. But that's about, other than that, that one's ready to go. So, and that one, it will be so important for us to have participants, because if we can get all the people that we need for that study, and we need like about 250 or 300 people to enroll in the study, and we will take people. If you're on CoQ10, contact us anyway, because the last thing we want is for the people who really benefit from CoQ10 not to be, to self-select out of participating in the study. But that study will be really important, because that one we're doing with the FDA under what's called an investigational new drug protocol. And the reason for that is that if this study does show benefit to Gulf War veterans, then the FDA may approve it as a treatment for Gulf War illness. And if they approve it as a treatment for Gulf War illness, then that will be the ticket for the VA to provide it without veterans having to pay for that supplement, which is kind of a not too, especially if you get a good quality brand, because they vary a huge amount in how, quote, bioavailable the CoQ10 is. So the better brands are kind of costly. So that would be what would help that to get, get paid for. It'd be the pathway to get CoQ10 paid for affected Gulf War veterans. But we'll need to get people, enrolled in that. So if you even might be interested in participating in that, and you can be from anywhere in the country. I think there are 3 states that do not have Quest labs, and those are the only places. But even there, if you're near a state border, but anywhere in the country, people will get the supplements will be mailed to them. We'll do Zoom Pro visits that are, what are called HIPAA compliant, meaning they pass all the requirements for, confidentiality. And then you'll, complete online surveys. And so everything can be done from wherever you are in the country.
Oh, that's cool.
And online visits. Yeah.
You know what I think would be really awesome?
What?
For all these studies that you're doing,
Uh-huh.
Y'all should fly me out there while I do a study and we do a podcast while we're there.
Yeah, I mean that would be awesome. I think we only have one in-person study that might need another affected Gulf War veteran. So go ahead, email me tomorrow, and I'll put you in touch with the coordinator for that study.
I just want some nice weather. I know California has nice weather.
Oh, that is reminding me. in the previous, session, the previous half hour, we were talking about healthy Gulf War veterans. And we had gotten a communication maybe a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, my time tagging is really terrible, from a veteran who said, everybody else in my unit got really sick, but I'm still perfectly healthy. And for the life of me, I cannot figure out where that communication is. It doesn't seem to be in my email. It doesn't seem to be on our, I don't know if that was a phone call. I don't remember the veteran's name, but that's the kind of person that we really want to include both in the genetic study and that we desperately need for that gene expression study where we can fly people out.
Everybody in his unit or her unit was sick except for them?
Yeah, that's what they told us.
That's
you know
crazy.
What? I saw somebody post that the other day. Or they may have sent me that, like I am the only one in my unit that is not sick.
If you can find that, please reach out to me to reach out to them or them to reach out to me. I want to, even if they don't want to participate in a study, I want to talk to that person.
Well, yeah, it's important, everybody.
Well, so these studies, I will be the first to admit that I haven't always been big, and I've used the terminology. I don't like being the guinea pig, but listening to you, Doc, explain things which I've never had. I mean, we had Dr. Garth Nichols on. He explained. So I'm going to screw this up. Mitochondria, that terminology. He explained. Well, here, use this. It was. Are you familiar with this, Dr. Dr. Nicholson?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty. Anyway, where I was going with this is that I had not been a big. I can't think of the terminology I want to use.
Fan of research
of studies, but as you're explaining it, it makes sense because it's a matter of, hey, we just want to make, see what's going on, see if we can help that, because that's really we've had other people on the show who say, well, go to this study or go to that study, but some of them are awful technical. And I'm not saying yours has been technical, but not to the point where it's overwhelming, where you can't, understand it, and people like, Pete that has all these problems as we do, but clearly Pete's got, very aggressive problems. And, if at all possible, we need those studies to, get whatever help we can to him or to a gal,
It's almost like we have to detox. It's a detox, something that is in our bodies, or rebuild it up. And now, just to let every single body out there know, I was approached about doing this trial. Kristi knows what it is. John knows what it is. I'm not saying it right now because I've been testing it out for 2 weeks to 3 weeks now. This product that has been brought to my attention and shown to me is working. I can honestly...
Great. I hope you'll stay on afterward with me and tell me what it is.
I will. And this is probably the only thing that I have done so far that I feel like I'm getting my life back.
Oh, that's great.
And I have tried this product on various people, even not in the Gulf War. With fibromyalgia, and they are getting relief. We'll talk about it in the after show because I really don't want to bring it out until I know 100% that this thing is for sure for me and for my audience. But I mean, I can tell you, I don't think, like John will tell you, he's never heard me more excited about being as better than I have been in a long time.
Yeah,
and wonderful.
And Kevin, I mean, I've known Kevin for a while now, and Kevin isn't the kind of person who's going to sit there and BS a person about, it really works, and when it doesn't work. No, if he says it's working, it's working.
And,
I believe you. I believe you.
Because one thing about it, because I don't want anything to be put on to my audience that I think is going to be BS. I don't want that because, number one, this is for the Gulf War vets. That's what this is about. This is about trying to help each and every one of us out there. And before I get into this big soapbox, do you have any other studies going on, or was that
Well,
it?
I think the main three that are ongoing are the CoQ10 one starting up, and the gene expression one. Well, actually, the physician attitude one and the genetics one. And the gene expression one is the one that's finishing up with the Healthy Goal for Veterans. And there's another one looking at membranes that has super exciting early data that we
Good.
I think are mostly done with the affected Goal 4 veteran group on. And then we just finished up and saw our last visit for our last participant on a pilot trial of a mitochondrial cocktail that tries to use multiple different things that help those energy powerhouses of cells to do better. That one is just what's called a pilot study. It's not necessarily designed to be big enough to show a significant difference. And we don't know what the final results are because we're entering the data right now. But it seems like it at least helped some of the people because a few of them asked to be put in touch with the compounding pharmacy that made the supplement because they wanted to pay to continue taking it. They felt like they were healthy enough that they wanted that. So at least it seems like it helped some people, but we'll wait and see what the overall data show.
Well, I tell you what, Doc, I really am very fascinated by you. As one of the people that have ever come on that has done more, that is doing so many studies, and for everything that you have said, I did not have to say dummy it down, son of a gun.
Right.
But like I was saying, this is I mean, she said it. It's for the Goal 4 vets. I mean,
it is.
I can almost hear it in your voice, the excitement that you have to want to help us. And
I'm glad.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, Kristi, I mean, everybody here is praying for Pete.
Yeah.
And everybody needs to say a prayer for Pete, that he gets better. Power prayer, to me, is one of the biggest things you can do. You know, my faith in God is very high. And I believe he's leading me on a journey. I don't know where he's taken me, but so far I love what he's doing. And I mean, I've met so many interesting people besides Garth Nicholson. I think you're the most educational one doctor I've ever heard. And
well, that's very
the excitement is just, I mean, I'm seeing so many people on text. I have people texting me on my phone going, "Oh wow, this is awesome."
Well, it has, Doc G. It has a lot to do with how you're expressing things too, because you're not monotone. You have an expression voice, so we appreciate that because
I think it's the excitement she has, and the one I like the best. I'm just sorry. I just want everybody to know right now the best study I think you're gonna have, and the biggest one is gonna be about the jackasses up at the VA that can't take care of the vets. It's true. Well, I mean, you should see the calls I get daily.
We want to hear all of that. We need to capture all of that.
Man,
well, I think
I can have.
I think people, a lot of it has. Go ahead.
I can have people from all over just leave me recordings, and I can just send them to you if that's what you want.
Right.
I mean, because it is. I mean, Gregory Wilson. I know your butt's gonna be listening to this. You're gonna be one of them. Lon. I don't have to say Kristi or Pete. But I mean, guys, even if you've had good experiences, call, let them know. We need every VA to be exactly the same.
Yeah, which I've learned. Well, not that I needed necessarily my provider to tell me, but I had learned some things I didn't know because we understand that the VA treatment isn't equal from one state to another.
Yeah.
And before I forget to say it, when we sign off, so Kristi and Doc G, just hang tight, and we'll talk to you some more after Kevin gives the sign off. But yes, we all understand providers aren't. I don't blame a provider from not necessarily knowing all the details about the Gulf War, because they're not. I mean, they might touch base on it in school, but a lot of them ain't as old as me. I'm in my 50s, and that war is over 30 years old now, and there's a lot of things, because it was so heavily induced, they just don't understand. They seek to understand, some of them, but it's the people that don't understand it and don't want to take the time to learn it, so they just brush us to the side.
Right.
And
right.
That's true.
That's why we need an ICD code, because if we have an ICD code, they will know it. They won't be sending us to all these crazy tests, because they will know what's sitting in front of them. Secondly, the VA is where we should be able to go for a battlefield injury. They should be the experts. So I am going to hold them accountable. And when that provider pushes us aside, I say, see ya, going to the next one. If you're not going to listen, we're not doing it. We're not playing. My husband's sick,
and ICD code. ICD code is the key, and it needs to be done. And
I will tell you that I spearheaded the effort to do that and presented to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention this year. I got a group of
I'll go with you,
doctors, researchers, and Anthony Hardy as a Gulf War veteran advocate to
John
to
Stewart.
sign onto that. Yeah.
Get John Stewart.
Good idea.
Yeah, it's true. Very true. I'll come with
No,
you.
I know.
I'll come with you.
Well,
hey, you know what? I mean, and our ICD codes are worldwide. It isn't just in the United States. So y'all remember that. This is going to be the final last word for everybody. From the people in Britain, European countries, I mean, all the way to Germany, all the way around the world. Our ICD codes are all connected as one. So let me tell you, you go to a country, they have an ICD code. Their ICD codes are exact same as United States. So if we can get an ICD code instead of what's the term, Kristi? The chronic multi-symptom.
Stop. They're using that to confuse us.
That's what I'm saying.
Illness.
That's right.
Gulf War illness.
That's what I'm saying.
Neither one has an ICD code. It doesn't matter.
That's right.
Say Gulf War illness. This is
Gulf
what it
War
is.
illness. And that
I'm
right
with you.
there, I agree. And that right there will change the whole aspect for everybody who fought in this war.
My God, I wish I had that recording to send to the CDC. It's past supposedly the public input time, but if we end up having to do this a second time, I want to have you guys talking and pass that to them, because it's just so powerful to hear it coming from you.
And it is. You want to know why? Because we're the ones all affected by it. We're the ones that walk into a doctor's office and they're saying, so, Mr. Simon, you're on 600 milligrams of pregabalin. I'm going to move you up to 700. Then I'm going to mess up your medication and make you almost commit suicide, Mr. Simon. Oh, but there's no ICD code for that. There's no ICD code for what they do to the Gulf War vets. There's no ICD codes for any neurological fibromyalgia, all the way from the brain fog, all the way to the headaches, all the way to you can't be able to walk to any of it. I mean, listen, on. Drives me nuts.
Oh.
So John got to crack up out of that. It's okay. But I mean, with that being said, I want to thank everybody. Dr. Golomb, I want to thank you, and Kristi, thank y'all so much for tonight. I mean,
well, I want to thank you too. I did not know about you or the show, and I am thrilled to. Yeah, I know. I'm really embarrassed. So, Kristi, thank you for putting me in touch with these people, and thank you for filling out the physician and attitude survey. And I'm with them. I'll be praying for Pete too.
Yeah, so. Thank you so much, Kristi. Thank you so much, Pete. We'll be praying for you, John.
Thank you, guys. Everybody, thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome.
I believe miracles happen every day.
It does. It does, girl. It does. And
absolutely. So Dr. G, yes, there is a plethora of Gulf War veterans with a tremendous amount of information to give to you. And Gulf War Side Effects have a fair amount of listeners, and we can genuinely make sure that you got probably more people coming your direction than what you might be able to handle. So I don't see any problem with getting a number of people across the country to get you information, and which Kristi is going to give the link so Kevin get Glenn to put it on the podcast.
I'll get it all up there, John.
And make sure Kristi and Dr. G hang tight after we sign off, so we can have a little bit of a conversation.
And
great.
I'm going to leave y'all with this one message before I leave. This is my last soapbox. Kristi, look up the gentleman. It was about 8 years ago in Corpus Christi. They said he only had 6 months left to live with cancer. His wife prayed for his cancer to go away. He prayed to see snow on Christmas Day. They got over 8 inches of snow. Next brain scan, his cancer was gone. I'll leave each and every one of y'all with that. Y'all have a great night.
You too.
That was a great show.
That was a really good show.
To see how many texts. Thank you for listening to Gulf War Side Effects. If you have a story or you would like to share or just come on with any comments or questions, please email me at kevinsimon@gulfwarsideeffects.com.